Hey, it's the Scotch Test Dummies, and we got our top 5 world whiskeys, baby. That means everything's in play except North America. We could be down in Japan. We could be in Taiwan. We could be down in Tasmania. Of course,
Ireland.
Ireland and Scotland is where we often
Germany.
land. We could be in Germany.
Over there. It's our top 5 of 2019.
We could be in Czechoslovakia, baby. There's some stuff coming out of the Czech.
It's a countdown.
It's a number 5, and we're going to number it 5 through 1. Begin, brother. Start us off. You like that? I had a little bit of a chicken.
You had to have a little pause in there.
Yeah, well, there was no pause. I just said, start us off. There ain't no pause here. So I'll be editing this.
Claire recently asked. He said, when is your top 5s coming out?
Claire the third. So
I
he
said
can down
soon.
thumb it. So he can give it a down thumb and say terrible.
And then he replied, well, we might as well just wait till December and make it your top 20 or your 2020 list or something.
Well, he's usually so positive.
All right, now I got a whole mess of bottles over here. I got to find my number 5.
I know what my number 1 is.
Number 5.
Sorry, my 5.
Buna Haben. I was going to say, don't jump in there yet.
Yeah, of course you know your number 1.
Buna Haben 18. So this year, last May, we went to Ireland and Scotland. Yes. Visited Buna Haben. Right. I liked what Buna Haben was doing before. They've really grown. I mean, up until that point, they'd really grown on me. When we were new to whiskey, new to Scotch, I didn't care for Buna Haben 12 the first time.
I remember that.
I've had a few bottles since, independent bottlers, Buna Haben releases.
They're non-peated expressions.
And peated.
Right.
Some. But we were there, we visited them, really fell in love with the distillery, the whiskeys that they're doing. This year we reviewed the 18-year. It's 46%. Now this is the old bottling. They've rehashed or redone. They've got new bottles, new labels that are out there. 46% sherry cask finished. It's unpeated Buna Haben. You get the sea time, the maritime. You get a little bit of that unpeated Isla maltiness that's going on with it.
I think a little bit.
My nose is itching. Somebody's thinking about me.
Is that what that means?
Yep.
Thought that was.
Now I've got my number 1 in my glass.
I've got my number 2. Just to let you know, my number 2 is in my glass. I think. I forget.
Anything else on Buna Haben? Buna Haben 18. Love it. Try it. My number 5.
It's good. You're right. Being there was nice. The distillery is kind of rough and gruff, and it's nice. Ooh, a neck pull. I had my number. No, this. Well, I can't even remember it anymore. I'll have to see.
You had your number 2 in there.
I did. I'm sure that's my number 2. My number 2 and 1 are so close. Well, in score, not quite in style. All right. My number 5 is a little bit of a rules break. Let's see what it is. How am I breaking rules? I'm breaking the rules with an Ardbeg Tripoli, baby. This is what I call the Ardbeg Triple. So what the heck am I doing? How in the heck can Ardbart? I know.
You got to pick one.
I don't, because here's why. In 2019, we did the Ardpocalypse. We had 12 Ardbegs. We had the Ardbog and some other things that are real hard to get a hold of or to find or to even buy now. The drums, the dark coves, they were in there. Go watch that show to see it. But what I learned from that, what I picked up, was that the core range of Ardbeg is phenomenal. You don't need to go get a CR, a committee release, in order to experience Ardbeg. You don't need to.
Well, not to experience Ardbeg.
See, you were saying, yeah, you do.
This is your whiskeys of the year, though. You gotta pick one.
Exactly.
It's not a distillery.
It's the core range.
Buna Haben, I picked the 18.
I picked the core range that you can get at any time.
Pick one right now. The house is on fire.
You can get the Corey Vrecken. Well, I wouldn't pull these out because I can go get them from the store. That's my whole point. My point is that the core range is both affordable and present. And you don't need to go search out the rare, super hard to find, blah, blah, blah. For Christmas, the wife said, what do you want for Christmas? I said, just, you know what? My Corey Vrecken bottle's almost out. Get me a new one. She did. I was in bliss. So the core range that Ardbeg is doing is phenomenal. We did the Ardbeg, the Ardpocalypse. I want to always call it something different. And what it reminded me of was I don't need to spend tons of money on every little rare CR release that comes from Ardbeg. Will I? Probably. Do I need to? I don't. The core range will satisfy you, and it is incredible. Off goes my number 5 for the year. Ardbeg core range is my 5. It's
so your
awesome.
number 5 is
The
Ardbeg
core
Distillery.
range. No, the core range. If anything, Ardbeg's pissed because they're like, tell them to go buy the CR. I'm telling you, the core range is phenomenal.
I mean, okay, I semi-agree with you.
Thank you.
I don't know that it should be your... I don't think it should be your number 5 whiskey of the year pick. But I
here's
can see
the deal.
what you're saying.
You know, in 2018, I became Ardbart.
Yes.
It was like...
was
it was
2019,
17? No,
was it 2019?
I think it was 18.
That's right. Yep.
We did the blind,
shootouts.
and I thought I was a Lefroy guy in Ardbeg, and they started calling me Ardbart. All of a sudden, we do the big 12-bottle Ardbeg apocalypse, the Ardpocalypse, and out of that, I'm still picking a lot of the core range, and I realized what they're putting out as their core range, even their 10, is phenomenal. You guys aren't missing out, maybe a little bit, but not totally. The core range is top-notch. Sorry. Zip.
So, we found ourselves back in May in Ireland and Scotland. My number 4 is an Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
I've really started to appreciate them. They've come around, they're growing in popularity. Now, keep in mind, most Irish whiskeys are single pot still. They're malted barley and unmalted barley, and they're triple distilled.
Right, most, not all.
So, sticking with that.
Nice. Ooh.
Red Spot, 15-year. Now, this was a limited release this year. I believe there's still some bottles available out there if you're looking. I did notice on some websites that all of a sudden some more bottles just appeared. This is a triple cask finish. It's bourbon, sherry, and Marsala cask.
Okay, very nice. You like the Marsala?
I've had a couple of Marsala releases this year that I've really grown into like. So,
well, I remember even when we were in Waterford, you were like, have you done any experimentation with Marsala? And they were like, shoo-doo, and they'd let you try that.
Yeah, and we were at Waterford. Now, they're doing, all of their stuff is single malt.
Yes.
But they are doing, we had some stuff that was only right around the 3-year mark that was already pretty darn good.
Pretty good. 3 and 4 year, I thought.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're still waiting a few years. I'm anxious to see what they're going to put out. My wife is pretty particular. She likes, and her palate, I mean, she's newer into whiskey. She really likes Irish whiskey. She likes the triple distillation and the single pot still. I think that really brings out a fruity character, a nice, kind of like a intro into whiskey. It's palatable. They're smoother, they're fruitier, they're sweeter. This one, though, at 15 years, you got nice oak cask influence, nice influence from the wine casks, and 46%.
Friends, we've had couples over here for like board game events and stuff, and they'll see all this goodness going on behind us, and they'll go, wow. And I'll say, you want to try something? And they get a little nervous, and I'm talking both. And I'll pull down an Irish. That triple distilled is approachable. It's nice, it's refined, and they can really get some cool flavors without being peat punched in the face. So I don't give them an Ardbeg. I will love to lean toward an Irish and a Marsala. Now, on that note, I need to ask you, because I don't own this one, and I asked you to bring this over.
I knew what you was going to say.
I know. My number 4 is a Lecheg. And I know I probably don't have the perfect pronunciation. Roy says it better than I do, but this is awesome.
It looks like Ledeg.
Right.
If you're talking to somebody that knows, we've heard Lecheg.
Right.
When we were in Scotland, several people pronounced it Lecheg.
Wow. Not like a fast Lecheg.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a quick
Lecheg. A Lecheg. It doesn't look like that at all. But this is a Marsala cask finish, and this was beautifully done. Not only is the peat present here and strong, and it gives me that peat love that I like so much, but then you got all these subtle little refinements of that Marsala cask finish. What amazed me here is that it wasn't overpowered by the peat. It's come in number 4. It's done well. We've got a Marsala thing going on, and I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very good. It doesn't pop up into my top 1 or 2, which are fighting each other. But this is quality. I knew as soon as we started to do the list, I threw down about 8 or 9 onto what I knew was going to be a 5 just off the top of my head, and it was in there. It's good. It's great.
If you didn't say this, it's a 19-year. It's cask strength, 51%. I believe they label it cask strength. 19-year small batch Marsala wine cask finish. Maybe they don't label it cask strength, but it is 51%. A little bit higher. I remember this is a nice peatiness with that Marsala cask finish. Sherry notes kind of coming through with
it. When I first approached it, I thought, how in the world is that Marsala wine cask finish going to hold up with a peat? Because peat can be so overpowering. Here, the blend is nigh perfect. I mean, they did a really, really good job on that. And so now what's the availability of this?
I believe this is a limited run. I don't know how many bottles are out there. There is still one available at the store where I bought that one. I've seen. Now, this is $160, $170 price range.
It's up there.
Yeah.
Right. It is very good. The way they held the peat together with that Marsala cask finish and how you can pick both up is blissful. Very
good.
nice.
Good pick.
Thank you.
That's your number 4?
That is my number 4.
So my number 3. My number 3. It's a great Craigellachie. Craigellachie, 23-year-old. So several years ago, and the only other Craigellachie that we've done, we reviewed the 13-year-old Craigellachie. Ex-bourbon cask. Craigellachie uses worm tubs, a method of distillation. It can cause a kind of a sulfur type note to the whiskey. It was more present in the 13 than it is in this one. There's still a hint of it in here with this one, but this one, 23 years old, and it's sherry cask finish. From the moment I cracked this bottle, I was impressed with it. It's gotten better as it oxidizes and it goes down.
Can I neck pull?
Yeah, you bet. Let me look real quick. I think it's 46% ABV.
Because I remember this. This was on my list, but higher up there.
But higher up there.
Like a 9 or a 10.
Oh. Lower on the list. Or I guess that could go either way. It's like, do you turn up the AC or turn down the AC?
Well, higher number-wise.
Gotcha.
Right. This is great because it's unique. It's flavorful. That there's a hint of still that sulfuriness, and then you've got that great grassy barley. Very, very nice dram.
23-year-old. This is in the States around the $220 range. It's actually more expensive in the UK. Roy was surprised that we could get it that cheap here.
Wow, I get lovely, like the vanilla, grassy, malty notes are just top-notch here.
I think it obviously, it really comes across as a double cask. I mean, there's some ex-bourbon cask notes in there, and then just the hints of the sherry as well. So it's not a sherry bomb. It's not anything that's just been aged in sherry its whole life. It doesn't feel like.
No.
Like I say, you get some of those vanillas, the citrus notes that you get from the ex-bourbon cask, and then the sherry notes.
Well, I didn't mind. We had the 13-year-old was part of the Doers, right? Their lost malts? No.
Last
great malts. And I think that was the last Craigellachie I'd had was their 13 until you picked this up.
Yeah.
And
now they also have
really nice.
They also have a 17-year, which a lot of people really like. Gets high marks. We haven't had that one. I would like to pick it up. Maybe will at some point. But
okay.
Yeah, Craigellachie 23 is my number 3.
Right. My number 3, and this is Scott's bottle, is Compass Box No Name 2, baby. There's some Kalila in here, a lot of Kalila in here, but what's cool is they even tell you there's also Talisker and Clynelish, of course, and vatted malt comprised of 3 Highland single malts. And then the cool thing about Compass Box is they'll tell you the Kalila was in a refill sherry butt, the Talisker was in a rejuvenated hogshead, the Clynelish, same, and then those vatted Highland 3 single malts was finished in new French oak barrels. Very small percent on that bottom one, but 75% of this is Kalila, and wow, is this good.
It's very nice. Now, and the only thing missing from that, they've got the recipe on the label right back here, minus the ages.
Right. They can't.
Which they can't. Yeah.
Right. They break
if you
rules
email Compass Box, they'll tell you.
They'll tell you.
They'll email you back with the ages of the
Scott is huge into Compass Box. I love Compass Box. Early on, we talked about being fanboys. I just say I love what they're doing. The style, the flavors, the disclosure. It's good, and great.
Mm-hmm. Now this is No Name 2. No Name 1 came out last year in 2018. It's got black wax on it, a little bit different labeling. It's mainly Ardbeg. Right. And John Glaser did not try to he
wasn't trying to recreate
it or duplicate.
Right.
It's a different whiskey. Where, like I say, number 1 was Ardbeg. This is mainly Kalila. Right. So they are different whiskeys. Don't think you're getting the same.
They're in London. We want to visit. They've got these little water cooler deals. I believe they call it demijohns. I want to go in there with like a 52-ounce American coffee mug and be like, I'm just filling up a sample. And there'll be workers in there like, what is he doing? What is he doing? There's all these cool historical sites around London, and just one of them I want to hit is Compass Box. You better take that away from me, because I will consume it.
That was your number 3, right?
That is my number 3.
Time for my number 2.
Ooh, bring it!
Right back at you.
What? Get out of here, of course.
Mention 19-year Marsala.
I thought that might be on your list.
A peated whiskey, my number 2.
Yeah, well, for good reason.
Yeah. It's an exceptional whiskey. I was really surprised by it. Now, I'll tell you, when I saw it on the shelf, it was kind of one of those impulse buys. Generally, if I tend towards the sherry cask.
You're right. You do.
Peated stuff, okay. I mean, I experiment with. I'm going to try.
But you saw Marsala.
I saw Lechig. I saw 19 years. I saw 51.5%. I saw Marsala.
Boom! That's what did it.
$160. Let's get it. Didn't know what to expect.
You're my kind of
influence. And it was good from the neck pour on down. They have another bottle at the store. I was in there the other day. I actually contemplated buying it as a backup to this one. There's just a lot of good whiskeys that are on the list, and so it's still sitting there. But maybe it gets picked up. I don't know.
Good call. Good impulse buy. This is one of these points where it scored high on both our lists. And again, the way they were able to... The peat is prevalent, and peat, as we know, I know especially, can overpower, yet the Marsala wine finish cask is definitely there and influencing it, and you get both. It's that peanut butter and chocolate coming together.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well done.
That's not the notes, you're just saying.
No, not the notes, just the idea how well they matched and mixed together. Now,
you're number 2.
Number 2 could have been number 1, which is the Lagavulin 19, and this is a distiller's only release. Now, I've got a pour of that here. This actually is my number 1. I had both of them poured, and for a while I wasn't even sure which was which. Whiskey Donger was over in Isla about the same time we were, or maybe a week after we were there. I can't remember. He picked this up. I ran into him when I was in Denver on a work thing, and he said, can I come by and meet with you and gift you a little bit of what's left of this bottle? I know you'll appreciate it. Yes, 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 to the point that this is my number 2. I know it's hard to get, or maybe impossible to get at this point in time, but this was so good, so flavorful. Those sherry cask finish, that 19 years,
Cask strength as well. It's 56 or 58%. Oh, 53.8.
Just so delicious. If you want to take a sip. No?
I've got my number 1 here. No need to...
It's subtle. It's
not subtle. I had a little sip before we went live.
As far as a peat smack in the face, it is peat and it is strong. It's more subtle than what I've got sitting over here as number 1. So with the caveat, you're right. There's no way, even I started to chuckle. I can't say it's subtle. The peat and the sherry both live as one, though. That's hard to do. Lagavulin does it great. I will tell you unequivocally that Lagavulin is, boy, at times it's my favorite distillery, even over Ardbeg. but Ardbeg probably stands just a notch above as whole. But I love what Lagavulin's doing. Very good stuff. Love it, love it, love it.
Very nice.
So, my number 2 could have been 1. I even taste tested these head-to-head as I was making the list, and until I finally made a call and said number 2. So, we'll pull it off.
All right. So, my number 2 was Lechig 19-year Marsala cask, a peated whiskey, right? What if I said my number 1 was a peated whiskey as well?
Call you a liar.
Calling shenanigans?
Shenanigans! But it must be, kind of.
Compass Box, Tobias and the Angel.
Nice.
So, this is a limited release. There's 2,600 and some bottles available. This is 30-year-old Kalila.
That's the wild part.
And like a 28, 29-year-old Klein Leash.
Now
that's the only 2 whiskeys.
You poured a little bit of this in here earlier.
Yep. So 51% Klein Leash, 49% Kalila. I mean, it was from the neck pour on this when I opened it, and we opened this right before we went to Scotland. It was kind of the celebratory bottle, I suppose you could say.
Totally.
The age shows in this on both parts, and you get the Klein Leash. You get that really waxy, fruity, tropical fruits, and you get the Kalila, that peat coming in. Yeah, and it's just a nice melding.
I mean, just knows that it smells. You've got it in there, clean, refreshing, refined, crisp. Even I mean, just from a nose.
Now, it's not Bart's peat, subtle, smack you in the face. But this is just, like I say, it's old whiskeys.
Yeah, you can taste the age.
Klein Leash and Kalila melded together. Very nice. This was pricier. I believe because it was pricier, and I want to say upper 400s, I believe you can still find this around. Probably not for long, though, with 2,600 bottles that were available. And it's even at that. So here's, there it is. Your Compass Box bottles, pretty much outside of Great King Street, have this profile. This is your Compass Box bottle.
It is.
He departed from that with Tobias and the Angel, and he's put it into this.
Yeah, big wide mouth.
A little bit different bottle, but
again, what John Glazer's doing is unbelievable.
Well, it almost is they. He's working. I mean, he's got
a team.
Other blenders working with him.
I know. Yeah. Maybe they is the right term.
Now, this one I did notice they label lead whiskey maker John Glazer. So I mean, he put his name on this one. So, and I can't think he does have a female as his top other blender that he's working with. I can't even think of her name right now.
Off the top of my head.
Wonder if it's on here.
This is refined goodness. This is sometimes. So I wonder. I've read where peat heads have evolved kind of above the smack in the face, the peat clod in the mouth. And I wonder as we venture forth. Did you find it?
Yep, Jill Boyd.
Jill Boyd.
Yep, and she's labeled as the lead whiskey maker on the No Name 2.
Beautiful. This is one of the whiskeys where I wonder, is there a point where I will evolve? Not saying there's anything bad with being a peat head at all. I'm a full peat head. But every once in a while, like your palate is definitely a little more discerning than mine. So I wonder, and this would be one where I can pick those top notches.
I think I go into stuff more open-minded than you do.
Really?
You go into stuff, okay, it's labeled with peat. It's going to knock my face off with peat.
Or I don't like it if it doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you have to...
I will give you that.
I think you just go into... I go into it open-minded. I'm just like, okay, let's see what this is bringing. You go into it's like, this better smack me in the face with some peat. Where's the peat?
Not if it's 30 years old. I know it's going to be subtle and refined. If anything, I'm like, I almost wish you didn't call it peat. But I want to pick up those subtle flavors.
If you drank Ardbeg 10 first and then this,
no,
you're not going to get it.
Right.
This really is refined. I mean, it's delicate.
It is.
But at the same time, it's also got depth. It's got layers. It's got character. Mm-hmm. It's delicious.
I'll give you that. Yeah, and that's where some of the peats that I love are more like, and they're not. You would never call them delicate. So,
you're number 1.
My number one, hello, Blackadder, independent bottler, baby. And this is what was vying with this. Back and forth. And I finally went with the Blackadder Peat Reek. It is that powerful peat punch in the face. It's right up front. Thick, rich peat goodness. And it's what is in this glass. I mean, there's now, just...
Keep in mind, Blackadder, there's different versions. There's different releases. This was the Blackadder Peat Reek. This was a 10-year cast strength Isla whiskey. 116.2 proof, 58.1% ABV.
Yeah, no chill filter.
And it's a good one. This is 160 to 180 range, and we bought this one at the Well of OKC.
Yes.
I was going back through, and you said, stop and get me another bottle of
For me. Yeah, this was the very first one was purchased with Patreon funds that allow us to try different things for the review.
Is that this one, or have you?
No, that is this one. That is this one. Mine is still sealed up there. And after tasting it, I told you, when you were going through, get me another one. I'll pay for that one. Yeah, do it. That's the raw cask, and I just love this. It is powerful. It is in your face. This is this is delicious. This is refined. This is like you're in a bar fight with heat.
Good, man. I mean, even that's saturating my palate. And one thing we talked about when we reviewed that is here's a 10-year-old cask strength Isla whiskey, independent bottling, and it's $170. Is it worth it? And we said, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. Now, it was funny. There's a little bit of particulate floating around in here. And kind of as we've toured distilleries and gotten to know, every bottle apparently has kind of like the same amount of particulate, which means maybe a little pinch was put in to make sure. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it is so good. The flavor's top notch, and it's my number one 2019 World of Whiskey. The Blackadder Raw Cask Peat Reek, and it is good.
We're just going to pull a few bottles up here as we close out so everybody can kind of see where we went.
I'm going to wind these over. This Corey Brecken, this Ardbeg thing in the back. Let's see, you've got that, and
over there.
There we go. Nice. What else in regards to Scotch? I clearly stayed on the peat train.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was thinking that while we were going. I was like,
I know. There's just, I still love it, man. I still love it.
You know, each year I do have one or two peated whiskeys. Now, I mean, that's not my forte. I do like the sherried scotches. Now, and I'll tell you, as I sit down and I make up my list, I'm like, what really knocked my socks off? And I'm going through, I'm looking at this list of whiskeys that we did this year. Which ones really stood out? You know, when you taste it and you go, holy shnikes, what was that? Or you're like, wow. You know, that's definitely going on my list. And I'll tell you what, with the scotches, I had a hard time this year just picking out 5. We had a lot of good whiskeys.
We did.
I say scotches, world whiskeys.
Yeah. Pull that no name up, by the way. I got to see it up here. It's such a beautiful bottle.
I forgot about it.
Yeah. There you go. I was looking. I was like, hold on.
We're way off. We're hoping anybody that's watching that's totally anal retentive is going to be like, their bottles are stacked completely different. There we go. There you go.
There. Claire the Third's happy again.
2019 top 5 scotches or world whiskeys. Again, there I go with the scotches. So
that's all right.
If we say that, it's inadvertent throughout the deal. It is
world whiskey.
So although you pretty much stuck with Scotland, I threw in. I've got an Irish whiskey.
I definitely did. I will tell you, I'm partial to Scotch.